Three pivotal moments shaped the direction of my life. The first was realizing that I no longer met the standards of a good husband. The second was a minor stroke. The third and most painful happened when my wife of 33 years, Patricia, confessed to an affair. Patricia and I were high school sweethearts, hastily marrying as teenagers, madly in love with each other. We faced the typical challenges of young love and marriage, but we managed to overcome them. Over time, our son joined the Air Force, and our daughter moved to another state after getting married. I spent my entire career working in the city's parks department, and Patricia took on the role of a homemaker, which she fulfilled with dedication. As for our intimate life, I always thought it was satisfying, though I had nothing to compare it to. When our children left, we suddenly felt a new freedom in our relationship, and it seemed to bring some improvement. But then a small issue arose. "Charlie, there's no need to worry," Patricia reassured me. "It's just something that happens with age. It's completely normal." "I'm not old," I replied irritably. "I'm not even 60 yet," I muttered to myself. "Men usually face these kinds of issues at 70. It's probably nothing serious. Maybe it's the beer, or I just need to lose some weight. That should help." "You're probably right," Patricia said softly. "You don't have to give up beer, but losing a few pounds could make a difference. Maybe it's worth considering going to the gym." "Yes, that's a good start," I agreed. "I'll check out a few gyms, and I'll book an appointment with Dr. Taylor to make sure it's nothing more serious." When I saw Dr. Taylor, he was more amused by my concern than alarmed. He assured me that, overall, my health was fine. He did suggest I lose a little weight, but he wasn't strict about the diet, saying that most of them work as long as you stick to them. As for exercise, he said the best plan was to choose something I enjoyed and stick with it. As I was leaving his office, he handed me a prescription. I didn't think much of it until I got to the pharmacy. Sildenafil, Viagra. I couldn't help but laugh, imagining what was in store for me. The next few weeks promised to be interesting. Patricia's face lit up when she saw the pills. She immediately started calculating how to stretch one pack over 3 months. She was so excited that we skipped dinner that night to try them out right away. The next evening, when I came home from work, I saw that Patricia was surrounded by papers spread out all over the dining table. We usually ate in the kitchen, but that evening she had turned the dining room into a research center. She was searching for the perfect diet for us. After a long discussion, we decided to try the keto diet. We also agreed to get separate gym memberships rather than sharing one. Over the next year and a half, everything seemed to improve. Together, we lost the extra weight and fully embraced keto. Since we were both involved, there were no more arguments about food. At the gym, I worked out strenuously every day, while Patricia alternated between the treadmill and running outdoors. Dr. Taylor even increased my Viagra prescription to 45 tablets a month. Patricia was pleased with the results, and so was I. However, over time, I began to notice that something was going wrong during my workouts. It happened so gradually that it took a while to realize it. It was like that old story about the frog slowly boiling. Eventually, Dr. Taylor referred me for a more detailed heart examination. "So, doctor, what's the verdict?" I asked nervously after the tests were completed. "Charlie," he said cautiously, "it looks like you've had a minor stroke." The doctor's advice was simple and direct. Nothing too alarming, but we need to monitor the situation for a while. First, reduce the intensity of your workouts. Focus less on cardio and weightlifting and add more flexibility and stretching exercises. Keep your heart rate below 100. And second, you need to stop taking Viagra for 6 months. I groaned, which made the doctor smirk. "So I don't have to give it up completely?" I asked hopefully. "No, not forever," he reassured me. "Just take a 6-month break, and then you can start again. Can you handle that?" I joked, trying to lighten the mood. He laughed. "I'll manage, but I'm sure Patricia might have her own thoughts on the matter." Patricia had been concerned about my recent health issues, but to my surprise, the news about Viagra didn't seem to bother her much. That worried me. I hadn't even told her about the 6-month ban yet, but lately, it seemed her mind was elsewhere. Over the past few months, her focus had gradually shifted away from our shared gym sessions. What started as simple 3-kilometer runs quickly turned into 5, and soon she was regularly running 10 kilometers. It had become her personal obsession. I didn't enjoy running, and she found other people to run with. Looking back, I didn't even notice how her weekend trips had become more frequent over the past 2 years. As our intimacy faded, her passion for running only grew. It had been 4 months since then. One Sunday morning, everything suddenly clicked into place. "Patricia, why didn't you mention that you won a race last week?" I asked, holding a newspaper in my hands. She looked at me over the rim of her coffee cup, her expression carefully controlled. "I didn't think it was worth mentioning," she said indifferently. "Why do you ask?" "Because," I said, "there's a picture of you with a medal next to some man. Who is Frank Cantino?" Patricia slowly set her cup down on the table and leaned back in her chair, clearly uncomfortable. "Frank is just one of my running mates. We've been training together for about 2 years. I've mentioned him before." "No, you haven't," I replied firmly. "You've talked about Sally Brand and Jill Armstrong, but not Frank. Does he often go with you on these trips?" She didn't answer. I repeated, "Does he go with you?" She stood up, took her mug, and walked over to the sink, staring out the window. "Frank leads our running group," she said slowly. "He's at most of the races and events." There was a heavy silence before I spoke again. "I'm going for a walk. When I come back, I want an honest explanation. I've had suspicions for a long time, but I didn't want to believe them. I have questions, and if you lie, I'll know." "Charlie, you're overreacting," she tried to object, but I cut her off. "Enough. I'll be back soon." I walked for hours and returned late in the evening. After dinner, when I finally got home, the conversation was brief. She admitted it. She had been having an affair with Frank Cantino, and she had no intention of ending it. She tried to soften the blow, but it was clear the marriage was over. They had been together for almost 2 years. Frank had a small boat on the lake, where they spent weekends, often using the races as a cover to be alone together. Shortly after, I moved into the guest room. I sought legal advice and received a grim outlook on the future. I continued to pay the bills and go to work, while she kept up with the house and cooking. Our conversations dwindled to the bare minimum, and the silence between us grew heavier with each passing day. After I stopped going to the gym, she began seeing other people more openly. This new reality lasted for several months. The initial awkward tension between us disappeared, and we fell into a sort of platonic routine of living together. There was no bitterness, no anger. We simply coexisted. The children didn't notice or understand what was happening between us. The physical side of our marriage had ended, and I stopped taking the Viagra I'd been prescribed. But one day, I noticed something strange. The bottle was emptier than it should have been. I hadn't been using them, so there was no reason for the pills to disappear. Yet there were clearly fewer of them. It soon became clear that her new partner had been using my pills. On Saturday, her usual day for yard work, she went for her swim as always. While I was having my morning coffee, I noticed her preparing lunch. She was making potato salad, a dish we hadn't eaten in 3 years since switching to the keto diet. "Looks like you've given up on keto," I remarked. "That potato salad is loaded with carbs." She shook her head. "No, I'm still on the diet, but Frank likes potato salad." Then, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world, she added, "I've made enough keto snacks for myself." "How thoughtful of you to prepare lunch," I said lightly. "Is Frank bringing the drinks?" She shot me a cold look. "Cut the sarcasm, Charlie. It doesn't suit you." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice calm. "You're right. That was uncalled for. Have a good day." While she went upstairs to change, I went to my room, where I kept the bottle of Viagra. Luckily, she took a long shower, giving me enough time to crush 6 pills into powder. I was sure only Frank would be eating the potato salad. After putting the bottle back in its place, I returned to my usual Saturday chores: mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, and cleaning the driveway kept me busy for most of the day. Later in the afternoon, as I was relaxing on the terrace, the phone rang. "Charlie, Charlie, are you there?" There was panic in her voice. "Yes, I'm here. Just finished working in the yard. What's wrong?" "I'm at the hospital. Frank had a heart attack while we were on the boat. They're keeping him in the hospital for a few days, and I'm stuck here. His car is still at the lake. Can you come pick me up?" A strange mix of emotions boiled inside me. "Wow, Patricia. I'm really sorry to hear that. Will he be okay?" "I don't know. I think he'll recover, but I'm terrified. Please, can you come get me?" "Of course. I'll be there in 2 hours. I'll call when I arrive." After getting directions from the hospital on where to find the boat and Frank's car, I set out. The car wasn't my concern. I was more interested in the food basket left on the boat. 2 hours later, I brought it home. When we returned, she didn't even think about going out. Sunday passed in a blur of phone calls and arrangements. Patricia spent the entire day sitting on the porch, staring at the sky. I made her a few light meals, but she barely touched them. Silently, I started packing the things I wanted to take with me. It wasn't difficult to close accounts and transfer funds online. On Monday morning, I left work early to meet with our lawyer and sign the papers to transfer the house and half the assets. Later that day, I left for good. I never went back. Now, I live in a new town with 10 gyms to choose from. I think I'll like it here, as I've been told. Patricia ended up alone. Frank's wife had grown suspicious of his affair and took steps to protect herself from losing everything. Frank quickly dropped Patricia, and I'm doing everything I can to enjoy my life. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.